In most countries, money is just the thing you spend. In Argentina, money is the single most important thing you have to understand before you go, and getting it wrong can quietly cost you half of everything. This is what makes Argentina genuinely different from any other major destination. It isn't expensive in the way Switzerland is expensive, where you simply brace for high prices. It isn't cheap in the way Southeast Asia is cheap, where your money stretches and you stop thinking about it. Argentina is something stranger and more demanding. It has an economy in a state of chronic instability, with inflation that has run into the triple digits and, crucially for a visitor, multiple different exchange rates for the same peso, existing at the same time. There is the official rate the banks and ATMs give you, and there has historically been a parallel, far more favorable rate that the entire country uses and talks about openly. The gap between them has at times approached a factor of 2. Which means the most consequential mistake in Argentine travel doesn't happen at a ruin or a glacier or a restaurant. It happens at the moment you change your money, and a traveler who doesn't understand the system can lose enormous purchasing power without ever noticing it's gone. So before anything else, before Patagonia, before steak, before tango, this is the thing to learn because it touches every single transaction of the entire trip. For years, the key fact was the existence of what Argentines call the Dola Blue, the unofficial street exchange rate for US dollars, substantially better than the official one. The practical consequence was severe and counterintuitive. A tourist who paid for everything with a foreign credit card, or who withdrew pesos from an ATM at the official rate, was effectively paying nearly double what a tourist who brought physical US dollars and exchanged them at the better rate was paying. People would arrive, use their cards as they would anywhere else, and burn through money at twice the necessary speed, mystified about why Argentina, supposedly affordable, felt so costly. The savvy traveler brought clean, crisp US dollar bills and cash, often in large denominations which fetched better rates, and changed them through the channels locals used. Now, and this matters enormously, the specifics of Argentina's currency situation change with its politics and its economy, sometimes dramatically and sometimes quickly. Reforms, new payment rules for foreign cards that pass through favorable rates, the narrowing or widening of the gap between official and parallel rates. These things shift. The blue dollar that was essential knowledge in one year can be reshaped by policy the next. This is precisely why the real lesson isn't a fixed instruction like always bring cash. It's that Argentina is a country where you must check the current monetary situation immediately before you travel, every time, because the right strategy genuinely depends on the rules in force the month you go. The mistake isn't using the wrong method. The mistake is assuming there's a stable, obvious method at all, the way there is everywhere else. The practical upshot, regardless of the specifics: arrive informed, understand how foreign cards are currently being treated, know whether bringing physical dollars still carries an advantage, and never assume that the first or most convenient way to pay is the one that protects your money. In Argentina, convenience and value are frequently opposites, and the difference between them is the price of a second trip. With the money trap understood, the second mistake is the one Argentina shares with its scale but expresses in its own way, underestimating just how vast and varied the country is and how little Buenos Aires tells you about the rest. Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world, and its attractions are flung across enormous distances. The wine country of Mendoza sits against the Andes in the west. The thundering Iguazu Falls are in the subtropical far northeast, on the Brazilian border, in a climate and landscape that feels like a different continent from the capital. The dramatic, multicolored deserts and high-altitude landscapes of the northwest around Salta and Jujuy are different again. And Patagonia stretches down the south for thousands of kilometers. These are not day trips from one another. Like its neighbor across the Andes, Argentina forces internal flights over these distances, and the same budget and time discipline applies. Pick a region or two and commit, rather than trying to staple the falls, the wine, the desert, and the glaciers into one breathless loop. The traveler who tries to see all of Argentina sees, mostly, the inside of Aeroparque. The third mistake is treating Buenos Aires the way the rush treat every capital, as a box to tick, when Buenos Aires specifically rewards the opposite approach. Buenos Aires is one of the great cities of the world, and it does not reveal itself to the visitor in a hurry. It's a city of distinct and characterful neighborhoods. The pastel streets and tango of San Telmo, the brightly painted La Boca, the leafy elegance of Recoleta, and Palermo's endless cafes and parks that reward unhurried wandering far more than landmark hunting. It's also a city that runs on a schedule that catches foreigners completely off guard. Dinner doesn't begin until 10 at night or later, and the famous nightlife genuinely gets going well after midnight. Tourists who try to impose an early evening rhythm find restaurants empty at 8, and themselves exhausted before the city has even woken up for the night. Buenos Aires is a late city, a slow city, a city for sitting in a cafe for 3 hours, and the visitor who treats it as a 2-day checklist before flying south misses the entire point of it. The fourth mistake is about food, and it's specifically about how tourists both overcomplicate and undercomplicate the famous Argentine asado and beef culture. Argentina's reputation for beef is completely deserved, and the steak is genuinely as good as you've heard. But visitors make two opposite errors. Some treat it too casually, eating at the first tourist parrilla they find near a landmark and getting a mediocre, overpriced version of something extraordinary. Others over-romanticize a single famous cut and miss the range. The real lesson is that the asado, the Argentine barbecue, is a whole tradition, not just a steak, and the best of it is often found away from the tourist centers, in neighborhood parrillas full of locals. It's also worth knowing the rhythms. Argentines eat enormous quantities of beef, late, slowly, and the experience is as much social as culinary. And there's the matter of how steak is cooked. Ask for it the way you would at home, and you may be surprised. Understanding the local doneness terms prevents disappointment. Beyond beef, the Italian heritage means the pizza and pasta are excellent, the empanadas vary wonderfully by region, and the wine, especially Mendoza Malbec, is world-class and absurdly good value, which loops back to the money question in a pleasant way for once. The fifth mistake is timing, and because Argentina spans such extremes, it carries the same regional complexity that defeats people who look for one simple answer. The seasons are reversed from the northern hemisphere, and the country is too long for a single best time. Patagonia in the deep south has its narrow summer window, roughly November to March. But Buenos Aires and the central regions are most pleasant in spring and autumn, October-November, and March-April, because the summer, December to February, can be brutally hot and humid in the capital, and it's also when locals flee on their own holidays. Iguazu is hot and humid much of the year. Mendoza's harvest season around March adds something special to a wine trip. The Northwest has its own dry season logic. The mistake, identical to the one that catches people across the region, is finding one best time to visit Argentina answer and applying it to an itinerary that crosses climates where that answer is wrong for half the stops. The last mistake is a quieter, more cultural one, and it's easy to stumble into without realizing, misjudging the pace and the social texture of Argentine life. Argentina runs late and slow in a way that goes beyond dinner hours. Things start later, run longer, and operate with a flexibility around time that punctual northern visitors can find frustrating until they relax into it. The cafe culture is not about grabbing coffee to go. It's about sitting for a long time with a core to do and no agenda. Yerba mate, the shared herbal drink passed around among friends, is a genuine social institution and a window into how Argentines relate to each other. The traveler who arrives wound tight, expecting efficiency and early nights and quick transactions, is constantly slightly out of step. The one who adjusts to the rhythm, eats late, lingers, slows down, finds a culture that is warm, expressive, deeply social, and far more rewarding than a checklist of sites would ever suggest. Underneath all of it, though, the defining lesson of Argentina keeps returning to that first one, because it's the one that's truly unlike anywhere else. Most countries ask you to manage your time and your expectations. Argentina asks you to manage your money with a vigilance no other major destination requires, to understand that the peso in your pocket might be worth two very different amounts depending on how you acquired it, that the rules can change between the time you book and the time you land, and that the single act of changing money correctly or incorrectly can reshape the entire economics of your trip. So the practical close is this. Before you go, close to when you go, Check the current state of Argentina's currency and the rules for foreign payments, because the answer that was true last year may not be true now. Bring the right form of money for the moment you're traveling in. Then, with that handled, give the rest of the country the same respect you'd give its distances. Pick your regions, let Buenos Aires unfold late and slow, eat the asado where the locals do, time each region on its own terms, and ease into a pace that was never going to match your watch. Argentina is one of the most rewarding countries in the world for the traveler who arrives prepared, extraordinary in its range, generous in its food and wine, passionate in its culture, and genuinely affordable once you've cracked the one code that matters. But that code has to be cracked first. Everywhere else, you figure out the money as you go. In Argentina, you figure it out before you arrive, or it quietly figures out you. Thanks for watching. If you found this useful, smash that like button and subscribe to When to Travel. We're all about helping you make smarter travel decisions. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. And hey, if you think your friends need this, share it. Comment below with your next destination or your biggest travel question. I'm reading all of them. Let's go.